Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Wilson Center. Welcome to an historic day in the men's basketball program. Before we get started, Rick Dickson and our new head coach, who you'll find out here in a few minutes, will both make statements, and they'll both be available for comments following the conclusion of the press conference. The coach will take questions as soon as he makes his statement. And now I'd like to introduce our Director of Athletics at Tulane University, Rick Dickson.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's been a exciting, eventful few days, weeks here. But really, before we even get going, I just want to make a few remarks in general. First, to our guys here in front of us, appreciate. It's always tough, looking from outside in. Sometimes you don't realize how it impacts these student athletes. Change and uncertainty, not knowing in this case because of being gone for spring break. And in talking with some of them and emailing as I left, just told them to stick together, and guys, you did a great job of that, and I appreciate it. To our staff and others that in this kind of whirlwind last 3 or 4 days did a phenomenal job of pulling things together. To Glenn Sugiyama, last week as I was leaving, we made the change, somebody that I've used over the years and past. Glenn is the Senior VP of a search firm called DHR out of Chicago, and having told him what exactly I was looking for, was able to, from day one in Indianapolis, sit down with about a dozen very strong head coaching candidates. So from that time through the time we got back in Sunday night till this point, I'm here with you today. Now, the interesting thing, and Brenda and I, after being here 10 years this month, can only kind of chuckle and laugh and enjoy. Keeping this thing a secret in front of 3,000, I mean literally, from here out to Turchin Stadium, 3,000 coaches, their agents, national media, everyone else got done for 4 days in Indianapolis. Within 8 hours of being on the ground in New Orleans, everybody knew. So it's nothing like coming back home. Just want to say some things. As I was jumping on the plane last week, somebody sent me an email, whatever day that was, and it led off with a almost stunning bit of news to me. And the headline said the name of the school, very highly prestigious academic university that had just finished competing in the Sweet 16, being under investigation for major infractions. And it's stunning for somebody that's been in this 21 years. And then as I started reading the story, and it's led off with the nature of the infractions or violations was because of the remarkable over $50,000 a year education these young men at this particular school and program were getting, and the fact that as a result, over 90+% of them graduated every year in their men's basketball. And although they've had a few, very few that have gone on to the NBA, all of them went on to highly successful opportunities beyond. And the next paragraphs all listed about all these legendary coaches that you'd recognize by name saying, how can I compete with that? That's not fair. Are you kidding me? These guys, you can recruit them and tell them they're set for life? And then I saw at the end, April Fools. April Fools. So the point being, again, so many people out there look at us and say, well, how can you do it? How can this be the right model? How can this be the thing that, because not a lot are like it, how can it be the right thing? So that began the process. We knew we had to find somebody that had not only believes it and would embrace it, but had demonstrated it. That in this kind of a model where you guys that I'm looking at know Tulane, you knew it before I came. A lot of you have been part of it. But at the end of the day, we are not going to sacrifice our core values. It's not going to happen. We are not going to bring young men and women in here and promise them something that's not delivered on. And we're living up to that promise. Along the way, do we want to be competitive? Absolutely. Every candidate we spoke to was really about 4 issues that they had to mesh with and believe and bring traits that were in sync with those core values. Number 1. And number 2, that they would do it in an ethical and compliant and clean way with integrity. And 3, that they would always, in all instances, remain great ambassadors of your university and this community, and that they would embrace it. Not apologize, not excuse it, but embrace it. And the fourth is that they demonstrated in that environment that they could recruit, develop, and win. And that's where we are. Okay? So, the next part of it is us. And I'd say to you, now that he's on board with us, I'll say to you, that's been bigger than some of our crowds in the last couple of years. And I want to say to all of you, it won't happen without you. Just as I said to our basketball team last night, this is not about wait and see. It has to start now. And we've made a commitment to do that. To that end, and I know you've heard it talked about, and I know that a lot of people spend a lot of time talking. Brenda even informed me this morning that I was hiring Red Arback, and I looked at her, he's not available. And then said, Phil Jackson, I said, well, he is, but it's not him. Nonetheless. So we want to do those things. We're committed to it. And now you're hearing it officially announced. And we'll get specifics when specifics are ready to be rolled out. But the basketball and volleyball practice facility that you've heard, talked, discussed, but not heard announced is now announced. That is going to happen. We have an architect that's gone through. Any of you that have ever seen an athletic facility, got a good example right out there. Be developed. That's what's going on. We'll continue to secure the funding for it. And as every coach that I've talked to knows and has seen pictures of, that will happen. It'll happen right over there on the other side of the tennis courts. And we expect it to happen in the next academic year. But those things have to be completed. And they will. And so another testament towards making that model work. Okay? The other is today. And as I said, we went through a process like that, met some wonderful candidates, and brought a handful of those back here in spite of what you heard, saw reported, believed, anything else. I only offered it to one person. I don't know, not many of you have been in this position. That's a credit to your intelligence over mine. But, there's ways to do things without offering someone a job to fill if someone really is committed or would entertain or be the right fit without offering a job. I've offered the job to one person, and he's here today. Okay? So through that process, we found that person that represents all those things for us. And again, it is not going to happen without you. The same message I talked to this team last night, and I'm looking at all of you. It is not going to happen without you. And we've got to bring others to that. And we can. And it can be the right model that does all those things, including winning. And that starts now. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you a person that's done that. He embraces that. And something I heard the very first weekend here on my first trip to New Orleans without Brenda and my kids, and got sidetracked into a crawfish boil out by the parking lot, is, you know what, you better learn to love this place. And I understand what that means. And I will tell you, this person and his family will love this place. I ask you to embrace him back. Please welcome Ed Conroy and his family.